Hi everybody. We're live with Caroline England on publication day for the Sinner. Do you want to start us off with an introduction to yourself and your book?
Right. Can I even remember? It's been one of those days. It's sort of like the trouble with publication days. It's like a retweet, and I've forgotten who I am. But yeah, and I'm a bit sweaty Betty as well. It's a bit warm, isn't it? So anyway, yeah, I'm Caroline England, and I'm the author of psychological thrillers, domestic suspense, domestic noir. It's got all those different names, and so The Sinner, which came out today, you can see it behind me as well. This is my fifth Caroline England psychological thriller, domestic suspense. And I also write as C.E. Rose, and I've got two C.E. Rose books out, and they are The House of Hidden Secrets and The House on the Water's Edge. And another C.E. Rose book is due out in November. But today I'm Caroline England. And in fact, I'm always Caroline England because that's me.
Excellent. We have literally only just seen each other in Wigan, haven't we?
I know, it was so nice to meet you in the flesh. It was lovely. And Kaz had a really nice dress on. You've got your dinosaurs on now because you had books. Very nice.
Books for a book event, dinosaurs for school.
Yeah, dinosaurs for a dinosaur.
That too. What can you tell us about the plot of The Sinner without giving too much away?
Yeah,
for anyone who's not read
it? The sort of things I write, it's really difficult to give a lot, much of an outline. But basically, the story revolves mainly around Dee, and Dee is in a bit of a claustrophobic relationship because she's married to an older guy who's a vicar, and they live in the vicarage. And I wanted to have a character with a claustrophobic situation, and I thought, what better thing than a vicarage, because you're sort of under the inspection of the congregation. And her husband Vincent has all his adoring followers, because he's a good-looking guy, it's very charming and charismatic, and he has all his fans, or the purple parishioners, as they're rudely called. So she's in that situation where, and because he's older, he's a bit controlling anyway, because he's an old guy. But even worse for poor Dee is she lives with a mother-in-law who's a dragon, isn't she? So she's in that really claustrophobic situation. And as with all my stories, things have happened in the past, but you don't find that out. That all ekes out as the story goes along. And so it revolves around Dee, and it also revolves around her older sister, who's called Marianne, and Marianne, I think it is. Anyway, Mary for short. And it's also about their relationship and sibling love and the trauma they've sustained from things that have happened in their childhood. It's not a secret that Dee's estranged from her father, hasn't spoken to him for years and years and years. And her mum's dead, and you find that out quite early. And so it's about their relationship as well, but it's also about Mary's own relationship. And also the third point of view is from Cal's point of view. It's Calvin, and he is someone who went to school with Dee many years ago, and they happen to bump into each other when Dee is out running, and he becomes Dee's escape, and they start a heady affair, and she thinks he's a saviour, and that's what she needs. She needs this escape, but is he the saviour that she hopes he will be? You have to read the book to find out.
Is it? But that's very good, sort of. You can tell you've been practicing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, today I've been reading so many reviews, and I've got some really amazing reviews. I read them and I think, oh, did I write that? So I've sort of swatted up by reading people's reviews. Yeah.
So we've got lots of hellos. You've got hi, Aggie, who was at Wigan. Daniel has said hi, Kaz and Caroline. Aggie called us beautiful ladies. I'll read out the compliments. We want those, don't we? Donna said hello to beautiful Carolines. Jacqueline Ward says congratulations on your book launch, and Tony Millington.
Oh, hi, Jackie.
And
And there's
Andrew,
Andy again. Yeah, and Tony.
Anna,
Oh, brilliant.
yeah.
Hello,
And
everyone. Thanks for coming.
Andrew said, great cover. I was just discussing this with my husband actually the other day, because he was saying there's very like standard kind of crime covers, isn't there? And when do you think of like something really iconic? And I was like, I actually quite like this one.
Yeah,
This
it is good.
like
It is really,
unique.
yeah. People have said how good right from the start the cover is, but they were very good, the publishers, because they actually gave me about 8 and said these are 8 were sort of shortlisted, and it's some, as soon as I looked at them, I thought, well, no, they're a very generic sort of thing, but that was the one that completely drew my eye straight away. But in fact, it had the hand on it, but it had like a pale green background to it, a very pale background. And I sort of could see where the pale came from, because it was a bit sort of chilling. And I said, I feel it needs a stronger colour. So they went for the red, which I think is great, because it's just a sinning colour, isn't it? Somehow red, blood red. Yeah. So it's fun sort of when this happens, and I do a family vote, and I go around with my girls and my husband and my friends, and so yeah, I was pleased that, because when I chose that one, my editor Anna said that's the one I liked as well. So it was like, great. No falling out over the cover.
I'm trying to work out who had said this comment. They said, hello, loved your book, but when did you meet my mother-in-law?
Oh yeah.
I
That's
maybe
it,
won't
yeah.
read out your name. Let's leave it as Facebook user so no one tells you off.
I think I might know who that is, because she put a comment on Facebook that sounds like my mother-in-law, but I won't name names unless I could blackmail you, but maybe not.
Andrew often likes to ask, so I'll beat him to having to type it up if your book is available as an audiobook.
Sorry, what was that again?
Andrew often likes to ask if your book is available in audio.
Well, I so wish it was. It's really frustrating, because I'm with Little Brown Piactus is the imprint, and the first one, Betray Her, with them, because I'd had 2 books out before then, was in audio, and they said it didn't sell that well. So when it came to Truth Games, they didn't commission an audio, even though oh, please, but they said the sales weren't good enough to justify an audio, and so at the moment with The Sinner, they say, if the sales are good enough, we will do an audio. So buy it, people, because I love audiobooks. I love listening to, it's a bit sad, really, but I like going on a walk and listening to my own books. That's really sad. I shouldn't have admitted to that, should I?
What kind of research did you have to do for The Sinner? Did you have to go into kind of like the world of the church and things like that? Because it felt like you knew a lot about like what it would be like being a vicar and a vicar's wife and
I don't. I think. I mean, I'm not a big church goer, but I went to a church school, and then when the children were little, as a lot of us do, we go to church to get them in the best school, sort of thing. But in the end, they didn't go to the sort of Church of England school. So I do know a bit. So from growing up, I know all about the different stages, because it starts, doesn't it, New Year's Eve, and it ends on Easter Monday. So I know all those steps in the religious calendar. And from the point of view of being a vicar's wife or a vicarage, I think that was just really my imagination, just how I imagine it might be. And do you remember there was that drama, Rev? That was really good. I don't know if you ever watched that. It was a sort of a comedy series, but it also had a sort of soulfulness, sadness to it as well. But it was very good, and that was set in a vicarage, so that helped. Yeah, but other than that, not as such. Yeah, and I've got some stage that I've got it all wrong, but somebody who, I don't know if she's here, but someone who's kindly read it, she might know whether I've got the sort of general busyness of a vicarage right or not. She'll have to let me know.
Yeah, that when I was reading, do you know when unusual things just get to you, like that kind of constant people just coming in and out, and like your house not being your own was just like I was reading that going, I hate that. Like I couldn't live there. That would annoy. Like
I know, I'm like that. As a family, we're a bit like that. We don't like people just wandering in and out. So it would drive me nuts as well. I mean, even like when my girls, they'll text me and put it in the wrong place. I'm like, "Where's the so and so? Where's it gone? And why don't you take? If you've used it, that's fair enough. But why didn't you just tell me?" So it drives me mad that there were just people, the church team coming in and using up your tea and coffee and biscuits and so on. So yeah, but I suppose, but it's a community hub. And of course, the whole religious thing, I'm not in any way criticizing religion or having a go at it. That just happens to be my setting for this particular book.
And I think it works really well because it kind of gives like a different kind of feeling to the book, doesn't it? Like I think if you took that setting away, it wouldn't work quite as well.
Well, I think that's one of the things that have intrigued people. I think people like the cover, and I think they've done me a really good blurb. But I think it's the fact that it's set in a vicarage and in a religious setting. It's just a bit different, isn't it? Because I mean, there may well have been a psychological thriller recently, but the main stories that come to mind are Joanna Trollope. But hers were very women's fiction. I mean, things did go on, and people did have affairs in all those books, but they weren't crime fiction at all. Even though obviously my books are on the spectrum of crime fiction, they're not sort of crimes as such, where you're stabbing people and things like that. Although some of my books there's been a stabbing in, but anyway, yeah. So yeah.
So someone said here, oh, it's Andrew. He says, "Am I correct, Caroline, that you come from Sheffield?" This is definitely for you because he wouldn't be correct if it was me. Have you set any previous novels in Sheffield?
Yes, I do come from Sheffield, and my next CE Rose one, I've set it actually in Doncaster, which is very close to Sheffield, but one of the characters lives in Sheffield. And also Betray Her, that one, in my head, I've set the main character's childhood home in, I've called it Barnsley, but actually it's really the village I came from, and it's my old house. So in my head, and it's got all the fields and the countryside behind where I lived in Sheffield growing up. So that's the house in the book. But as I said, I don't know why I put it in Barnsley. I just didn't want to upset people who lived in my old village, I suppose. But yes. But most of my books are, because I'm now Manchester based. They nearly all have Manchester in it in some aspect, and I'll just go a little bit out from Manchester. And of course, The Sinner is completely set in my village here. So I'll get into trouble. I'll be ostracised by tomorrow.
I was I was just going to say, has anyone in your village read it?
No one's. I don't think so. That not that because obviously there's only been advanced review copies, haven't they? And so I don't think so. So let's wait and see what happens. It could be real crime fiction, factual crime, if I'm not careful.
You're going to
A
get
whole new book.
you're going to get people coming on book tours around Didsbury.
Yeah, that's it. I know, it's true. And what I do is sometimes I visualize people's houses. The story's nothing about them, but it just helps. And I think a few authors have said this. It just helps to sort of get your bearings if you're in someone's house, and you just know where your character's walking and everything. So I've probably used a fair few houses in this as well.
Is this why people talk about like going on Rightmove and looking at the houses and things as well?
Yeah, well, I did that. Yeah, I had to do that in lockdown because obviously you couldn't go in anyone's house. And the House of Hidden Secrets, that's the first C.E. Rose book. It's set in a Cheshire village called Goose Tree. And I have to confess, I've never been to Goose Tree, but I got the house, this gorgeous big old farmhouse that was like 17th century listed building. That was on Rightmove, going and having a little look round. I really enjoyed doing that. I didn't think it was that. My husband always says to me, "Oh, you have no interest in like houses and stuff," but I do online. I think it's just in person I'm not that bothered.
Would you are you going to tempted to sort of take photos of some of the locations you've used in Didsbury and share them?
Yeah, I suppose I could do that, couldn't I? Yeah, that'd be interesting. I could go and find the bus stop, the famous bus stop in the story that you'll know about when you've read it. But yeah, funnily enough, I did a charitable thing, and it was for SmartWorks, And it was last March, and basically within a week, or was it 2 weeks? Yeah, I think maybe it's 2 weeks. You have to cycle. Your team has to cycle 200 miles or something. So you divvy it up between you to cycle this amount. And someone got in touch with me and said, "Why don't you cycle your sort of your books routes?" And so I did. And in Truth Games, one of the scenes is set in Lyme Park, which is sort of outside Manchester towards Stockport. And so that was one of the routes. So I had to cycle it, but it's all uphill. So I was absolutely shattered by the time I got to the top of the hill. But I took the photograph, and but it was quite nice the way back. It was all downhill again. It's really good, except till you got to Stockport, then it was a bit uphill again. So yeah, maybe I should do this.
Someone said the previous vicar at their church had the vicarage door open from 8 till 11, and people could drop in at any point.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough job, and I think it's you've got to have that complete sense of community, haven't you? You've got to be there for people, because you're sort of more than a social worker, aren't you? You're a social worker, come spiritual, helping people's spiritual needs, but also the physical needs, and dealing with birth and death and christenings and weddings. It sounds a really tough job, actually, really full on. So yeah, I can imagine.
So there's a really interesting cameo in your book from someone we all know and love.
It was only a tiny little thing, but I just thought, see if anyone spots it, and people did.
Did you ever use the people that you know in books, or?
Yeah, one other person. I've got a friend called Andy Marr, and he went to school with my husband, and they've remained friends, and we sort of couples meet up and whatnot. And he loves being in my book, so I try and squeeze him in, whatever. So, for example, in I think it was Beneath the Skin, he was a silver fox, and he just gets a little mention, and so I've tried to put him in some guise or other in all the books. So in this book, he's no one in particular, but in this book, he just appears as a really minor character who's just called Mar. He's not called Andy Marr. So Andy likes to get a mention. But I take with you, if I mention Andy, at least I'll sell one book. So it's not.
Because you tell Andy and then he has to buy it.
Yeah.
So what have you done on publication day today?
Well, to be honest, as I said earlier, I've just been doing the whole social media thing. I've been sitting here at my desk, retweeting, responding to people and everything. And I've got some it's so heartwarming to get some brilliant reviews in, some really, really amazing reviews. And it's so nice. I mean, I know the bad ones will come, they always do. But at the moment, they've all been so heartwarming. Everyone's got it, including you, Kaz. Thank you very much. And you've got the story and you've enjoyed and everything. So I've been doing all that, been retweeting and whatnot. Then and actually I woke up at 5 o'clock. Obviously I was like a kid at Christmas and I couldn't get back to sleep, and so I'll be very tired soon. But then I had a bit of lunch and then I went outside because it's been boiling here, and I don't know if has it been boiling everywhere? Has everyone had a lovely sunny day? But to be honest with you, I got to the point where it was too hot and I had to come back in again, because I was trying to look at things on my phone as well. And it's quite hard, isn't it, when it's sunny? So that's it, really. And I've brought water, so I'll have my gin and tonic or my prosecco later.
Oh yeah, we're going to share a drink, weren't we?
Yeah, we're going to have a very icy gin to cool down.
I mean, you just say an icy gin, don't you? And everyone's like,
Yeah. Who fancies an icy gin? What sort do you like? Do you go for just like the plain gins, or do you like the sort of flavoured ones?
I'm an equal opportunities gin person. I'll drink most of them.
Right, that's very good. Good tactful answer.
Oh, yeah, everyone's saying here, Sam's just put her washing out.
Good.
She's very glamorous.
Yeah,
but she doesn't like gin. Donna's going to go for a drink with us.
Oh, good. Yeah. Anyone else coming to the virtual pub with us?
What other events have you got going on? Because you're a very busy person. You did 2 events on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. It was. We had such a good day, didn't we? It was really good, and I managed to disappear to a room upstairs in that big building, and it was really nice. So it was great to do both. But it's like buses; everything comes at once. And so, what else is happening? I've got my sort of launch. I've got an actual physical launch. So if anyone's in the Manchester area and wants to come on the 8th of July in the evening, you're very welcome. It's at the Slug and Lettuce in Didsbury. So I've got that. And what else have I got? I've got some. Oh, no, no, I've got an event in Urmston Bookshop in July. Um, there are things now, I can't even remember what they are now. But and then I'm going to nothing. I'm not doing anything at Harrogate, but I'm going to Harrogate. So I think loads of people are. Loads of the bloggers are going. Obviously, loads of the authors are going and everything. So that should be great. So let's hope it's the weather's like this.
Yeah, it's best at Harrogate, isn't it, when the weather's like this and everyone can just mix outside and have a nice time.
Is there quite a big presence from the group going?
I do not know. Me and Sam are going. And I know there are some members going because I've been on a stealth mission to get everyone to make friends at events by sending people bookmarks to give out and help them
Oh,
find each other.
excellent. That's really good. And I know Donna's going because Donna's going with Sharon, aren't you? So that would be fun. It's really, I think it's great. The more people you know and the more people you bump into, it makes it such fun. It's great.
Makes you less worried about being there, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. And also because this year at the moment, I normally go, I've got my little sort of group of four of us who are buddies and we always stay together. But at the moment, I'm the only one coming of that group. They might change their minds, I don't know. But so I know there'll be lots of friendly faces. I won't be hopefully lonely for too long.
Yeah, Tony Millington's going, he says. What are you working on at the moment?
Well, I've just finished the edit for my next CE Rose book. And that my title for it was The Wasp of Rutherford House. And it's all set in a big old house called Rutherford House. And the publishers they're quite intrigued by the wasp. And when you read the book, you find out why it's called the wasp. But they don't, it has to have all these things for Amazon and online. And I don't think a wasp is a word people look up. They want a more sort of like crimey words. So I don't know what it will be. But that's, yeah, so I've just finished the structural edit on that. And I was delighted because it came back from my editor Kashini at Hero Books, and her and the other editor who was working on it basically said, "There's hardly anything we want you to do, Caroline. It's just great as it is. There's just a few little bits and bobs." And it's like, yeah, hallelujah! It was brilliant. I was so pleased because it's so stressful, the structural edit. I mean, I still went through it from beginning to end, carefully. And of course, every time, everyone who writes will know this. You can polish forever. And you can also write the same word in a sentence and you think, how did I miss that? Or a really bad typo or whatever. So you can never stop. So that's gone off back to them. So I've got to wait a few weeks and then it'll come back with the line edit and the copy edit. So that's what I'm doing next. And at some point, the trouble is I've been so busy with all this other stuff and like organising the blog tour and stuff for the Sinner and all that type of thing. I haven't written anything new for ages. So at some stage, I really need to start actually writing something new.
Have you got lots of ideas for new things to write?
Yeah, I don't particularly sort of mull on them though until I need to, if you know what I mean. So I've still got my head in the last CE Rose book, and then I go to a writing group on a Tuesday, and I'm reading something else out of that that's already written. So I personally, I don't know about other people in the group, but I need to clear up my head completely before I start something new, and I need to just be completely focused on that. So I can't be doing an edit and then this and that. I need to just, have a clear period of time. It'd be nice, wouldn't it, to have like somewhere abroad or somewhere, a little place you go to write. And then you just write, wouldn't you? Except I wouldn't. I'd go in the sunshine and sunbathe and drink gin.
Apart from the sunshine bit, I'm with all of that.
I know. It isn't that well, yeah. But it sounds nice in theory. Maybe I should really go to somewhere where it's miserable and cold and rainy, because then I would write, wouldn't I? Maybe that's the answer.
You've been asked more about what you write as CE Rose. So is your main character in there a private investigator or a member of the police?
No, no, my CEOs are oh right, they're in the box. I was going to show you the covers. My CEOs books are, again, they're psychological thrillers, psychological suspense, but they have a hint of gothic. And as you can imagine, because they're called The House of Hidden Secrets, so they're very much based around a house, and the house in each case is sort of a character in itself. So the first one, The House of Hidden Secrets, is as I said before, it's a big old farmhouse in Goosetree, and the Ramses live in there. So father and two sons live in there. And then we have, right at the beginning of the story, a woman called Serena, who comes with her 4-year-old child to be a housekeeper. And you're thinking, well, what's going on with Serena? You know, why she just come from nowhere, and why she's so sort of secretive that she's come to somewhere that's really remote. So obviously she learns all the secrets of the Ramsey men. They've got the, you know, the darkness in the walls of Ramsey Hall and what's happened in the past. And it's got a little spooky element to it as well, but a little bit of supernatural, which you can, as a reader, you can either interpret as supernatural, or there can be a reason for it. It's up to the reader. And yeah, so she slowly discovers their secrets, but of course she has secrets too. And so again, it's my type of thing where, you know, I'm building up the characters, and then I'm giving out secrets, and then eventually you get a big boom, boom, boom towards the end. I can't help it. That's the way I write. So I just give you a great big series of shocks towards the end. So that's that one. And then my next CE Rose one is called The House on the Water's Edge. So again, it's a house. And this time, actually, I've departed. I've gone to the Norfolk Broads. But it does also start in Manchester, as most of mine do. But so the house itself is in the Norfolk Broads, and I'm familiar with that because we used to go there for childhood holidays. And again, it's got a little hint of gothic to it. And it starts where the main character, Ali, she's had a little boy. He's only 5 weeks old, and her mother dies in a car crash. But just before her mum dies, she phones her up and says, Ali, there's something I need to tell you. But for some reason, the whole conversation gets cut off because she's got a baby. Maybe the baby started. I can't remember what it is now. So there's something the mother really needs to tell Ali and doesn't tell her just before she dies. So Ali goes on a voyage of discovery to the Norfolk Broads, goes in her mother's home, discovers all sorts of secrets and whatnot while she's there. And as ever, I always like romance in my book. So I always have a romance in there as well. Whether it works out well or not, you have to wait and see. But I always like to add a bit of love in the mix.
What are the challenges to writing kind of psychological thrillers? Because the cinema takes a while to sort of build, doesn't it? Very slowly. So you must be having to sort of build suspense very carefully, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, so I think some psychological thrillers are different, and some people like different things. I mean, I describe them as the wham bam thank you ma'am type of psychological thriller, and the one that's got more foreplay. And I'm more of a foreplay person, because you do get the absolute, you know, as you're going along, you get the reveals and you get a lot. Whereas some of the psychological thrillers have it more up front, if you like. So they have more of the action up front. But then I feel sometimes they can peter out, and I just prefer it the other way around. And also, I'm really, really keen on characterization. I really like to build my characters up. I want the reader to really get to know them. And I want to get to know them as I'm going along, and I'm planting it. It's very subliminal, but I'm planting seeds all the time. And I think some people pick up on the seeds and other people don't. So I think a lot of the slowish build, it's not, it's all there for a reason. And if you read it again, I think you probably see, you know, all these things. But sometimes perhaps I'm too subtle, but I because I love surprising, sleight of hand and surprising the reader, I'm really tight with not letting anything out. So maybe I should let out more. But I think it's horses for courses, and I think I write what I like to read. That's the sort of book I would like to read. I like to get really, really stuck in. rather than the quick. Because, as I'd say, some psychological thrillers is sort of like, it's almost on the first page, and it's great if you like the woo straight away. And I suppose that mine don't do that. It's more of a journey.
I quite like to have that think about them after, though. And I think that really works with yours, because you can think about where those clues were. So there's like
Yes,
a
yeah.
reveal in the Sinner, and I was like, oh yeah, like when you go back and think about it, that
I
makes
know it's yeah, it is all there. It's on. It's all planted there, sort of like forensically planted. But you know, but yeah, it is. And also, a lot of readers who read my books sort of say afterwards as well, they're left really thinking about it. Like Truth Games, unfortunately, Truth Games sort of fell under the radar. It was COVID, and I don't think the publishers perhaps pushed it as much as they should have done. But anyway, that has a really shocking twist at the end. So people who actually did, not a lot of people have read it because it never really got out there. Although I know Dan's read it, and I think it is. I think that at the end you're like, oh, and so many people have gone, oh my word, you know. And they said they've gone finished the book and they've been, you know, zinging thinking about it. And but again, the clues are there, but it's yeah. So you have
Simon.
to read. Anyone who fancies reading Truth Games, do, because it's a shame it got lost, because I think it is again another sort of slow burn build up, but hopefully it's worth it.
So, I mean, I'm saying that there was no offense meant in the slow burn. I really enjoyed the Sinner, and I think it's one of those that makes you think, and it's good, and that you're thinking about how intelligent the sort of writing is. You know, you're thinking about it at the end, going, "Yeah, I can see where all those clues
Oh,
were."
thank you. Good. I'm
So
glad.
it's
I'm glad it
absolutely a
works.
compliment from me. I really enjoyed it. It was a great read,
Oh,
and
thank you so
it's
much.
like you were absorbed in it, like kind of trying to work out what was going on, which was quite good. Sam has said that secrets, unraveling and lies and the unraveling of them always fascinates her, and you do it so well.
Thank you.
I know she's a big
I'm
fan, Sam.
sorry.
Sam is a very big fan, I know that.
Oh, that's, oh yes, that I can see. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Samantha Brownlee. You know, that name feels familiar.
Someone's asked you how much you plan your books and how much you make up as you go. I feel like you're a bit of a planner. You can't have written something like with all that subtlety and not have had to think about where everything was going.
I'm not actually at all.
You know?
I hardly plan anything at all. It's all sort of, it's bad really, because it's all in my head, which is crazy really, because I try sometimes to write, if I get an idea or a thought, I might write the odd line down, but I don't really. I just mull a lot. But I watch, you know, Will Dean, he's a fabulous writer, isn't he? And I went to see him at Blackwell's in Manchester. And he was saying the way he writes is he just mulls for months and months and months, just mulls. Then he locks himself away, and over a period of about 3 months or so, he then just writes it, and it's all in here. And I thought, I do that. I am Will Dean without the beard. I wish.
Giant dog.
Anyway, so that's what I really do. I suppose I have an idea of maybe how it's going to end. And I might have a couple of secrets that I think, oh yeah, I want to give that to go. But a lot of it comes as I'm writing. I think, oh God, yeah, I'll do that. That's a good idea. Oh yeah, you know, I'll do that. So that's why I think when I said earlier how I need to be really in the zone, I think that's why, because I need to just do it, sort of thing, and not be distracted very much. So.
You've been asked here about your books being adapted for TV. Any interest in?
Well, I think I've told this story many times, and people are probably fed up with me saying it. But I so nearly got a bite with Betray Her, and it was when it was just out. I think it was just out in ebook. My agent was she must have sent it off to Catherine Hagel. She's the Hollywood actress Catherine Hagel, who was in 27 Dresses or something it's called, and she's been in Grey's Anatomy and other stuff as well. Oh, she was in Suits, Catherine Hagel. Anyway, and it went to her agent, and then Catherine got it, and she apparently flipped over it. She just loved the story. because Betray Her revolves around Joe and Kate, and they have been childhood friends since the age of 8 when they were at boarding school. And we see them when they're 8, we see them when they're 18, and we see them in the present day. And there's obviously a lot more to their relationship than you realise. You see it in the present, and slowly you discover what have gone on in the past. And there's a man in the mix also. Anyway, I got Katherine Hagel on the phone in this very room, going, I just love this and I just want to adapt it. And I'm going, miniseries, I'm going to read all your books. I think it's fabulous. I can't decide whether I play Kate or Joe. I wouldn't mess with the story. I'd roll it out exactly as you've rolled it out in the book. It's brilliant. What I'll do, right, I'll get some writers together, suggested writers who could adapt it for the screen. And I was like, oh, it was amazing. And sort of went back, because my daughters, they watched all her rom-coms, and I'm going, yeah, it was really, really Katherine Hagel. And then what happened was, my agent, I think she felt out of her depth and was a bit worried about getting into agreements and whatnot. So she sort of, what's the word, subcontracted, shared. She got in a film agent, a Hollywood film agent, and they were going to like share their percentage between them. And then the whole thing just went off. Never heard anything more. I mean, there was a little bit coming and going where they were suggesting some writers, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge was suggested as one of the writers, but then it just went completely off. So I think Katherine Hagel's team must have just been, well, maybe they just went off it, I don't know, but maybe just this film agent just put them off, or maybe the film agent didn't have enough time, because I mean, she was a top Hollywood film agent. She probably had no time from some sort of British woman, who she'd never heard of. But the other thing as well, Katherine was going to, if she did it, she was going to take it away from Barnsley and put it in America. But I didn't mind. Can you imagine having a mini series? So that's my claim to fame. So it'd be lovely to, at some stage, does anyone know any TV agents or producers or anything, please put them my way. I'd love it. It'd be a dream come true.
Aggie says, when you're in the zone and have a brilliant idea, do you make a note of it and leave it on the side to fit in the storyline later or straight away?
Yeah, I suppose I do that a little bit, but I'm very scruffy. I don't have a pad or anything. I just have scraps of paper. So I'll have a manuscript I printed out down there, and I'll just write on the back of that, save the world by saving paper. And so I just scrapping it, and then it just goes in the bin. So, but I suppose really I ought to do notes in a pad, and I don't know why I don't. I'm not very good like that. But I do make the odd note where I go, oh, that's a good idea. Because of course, I'm sure we all do this. You wake up in the night and you think, that's a great idea. And then you go back to sleep, and in the morning you think, what was it? And you can't even remember. Or you have a really good dream and you think, oh, that's a really good story. And then it dissolves when you wake up. So, but the trouble is, if you really wake yourself up in the night to write it down, then you're awake, aren't you? So.
Well, I mean, you need to stick with the process that's working for you.
Yeah, I guess.
You got a lot of fans that are loving you,
Oh, thank
that are
you.
working the way you're writing them now. So.
Oh, thanks. I'll call you. I mean, I know all the authors say this, and I heard Mark Billions say how you just think, once you've done one book, I mean, none of mine have been smash hits, but you do think, God, can I ever do that again? It's a bit scary, really, but hopefully you can. And at least I've got a couple in my back pocket at the moment, but I want more in my back pocket because I'm gradually using them up with the C.E. Rose titles. So.
Why did you choose to write with different pen names?
Yeah, that was just simply, I set out as Caroline England, that's me. I mean, I never took my married name, so I've always been Caroline England. And but traditional publishing is very slow. And as I say, I had all these books in my back pocket because before I managed to get an agent and then get a publisher, I was just writing. And I'm a bit of a work ethic. I'm a really boring sort of person. I just think, yeah, get on with it, be very sensible. So I had these, and because it's really slow and I like to be busy, it drives me nuts if I don't have enough to do. I'm such a doer, I annoy myself. So so there were great big periods where nothing was happening. So that I thought, well, the answer to that is to get a different publisher. So initially I did 2 legal books. I don't know if any of you here, I think Sam has read them, my Natalie Batch books, and they were called Convictions and Confessions, and they were by Caro Land, and they came out in probably 2020. And that was good because I really enjoyed writing them, and because my background was, I was a solicitor, so I knew a lot of it, and I loved all the characters. I had the, because the books were sort of, they were serious books, but on the other hand they had a lot of humor in there. They had like some surreal cases, some very dark cases, and loads of really fun personalities, so I enjoyed them, but they just didn't do very well at all. So I've got my rights back for those, so I've sort of shelved those for now. And then I did the CE Rose with Hera, and I'm really enjoying doing those at the moment. But again, CE Rose, obviously Hera are a different publisher to my main Caroline England publisher, so it's having 2 different publishers, 2 different names, and slightly different types of book, but not that different.
Sam says she loves the Natalie Back books. I remember her saying that she's really hoping for a book 3 eventually.
Oh yeah, I was talking to someone about it, and they were saying, "Oh, well, you have to kill someone off." Anyway, whether I do that or not, I don't know. But maybe one day. But I just suddenly feel that's now actually 2 is enough. Because of course Mike Craven was saying, wasn't he, on Saturday, how he's been nicely just doing 1 a year, and then suddenly more, and it's a bit scary when you think of all the time he has to take out to promote and go touring around and all the rest of it. That leaves a really tight timetable to write an extra book. So that is quite scary.
Yeah,
but I'm not that, I'm okay at the moment. But yeah, sorry, go on.
he was saying that he's never written a book that fast than the timescale he's got now.
Yeah, I mean, I bet that's really a bit scary, because he said sort of 9 months, didn't he, for one of them? And if he's got to suddenly do one in 3 or 4 months, that is quite a challenge, isn't it? But I'm sure he'll do it because he's brilliant, isn't he? So
yeah, hopefully he'll rise to the challenge, and we'll all enjoy. See, the trouble is, you create monsters in your readers, do authors, because we get so drawn into your books that we want more and more of them. So you have to write more.
yeah, I think especially when it's a series, isn't it? Because you become very invested in the characters, which is why Sam nicely said she'd like to see another a 3rd Natalie Batch book, because she was a good character, and like the sort of her sidekick, another legal eagle, was called Gavin Savage, and he was a great character as well, because he sort of didn't take any sort of nonsense, but he got a really big heart, and he liked all his clients were, he looked after the criminals and the underdogs and everything, so he was a really nice guy, even though he was quite brusque on the outside. So I'd like to develop him. I thought he was a really great character. So you do get drawn. So then obviously that's me as a writer, but so as a reader, obviously, and I'm the same with loving to know what happens, if I'm reading a series.
Aggie has asked if there's any other genres you'd like to explore or write in.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think we discussed this on Saturday, I think, a little bit, when we were talking about romance, and I think I could write women's fiction, because women's fiction can be, because mine really are a little bit women's fiction-y. And I was surprised when I thought I was writing crime, but then I was killing people off, so I suppose I was writing crime. But so I think I could write women's fiction. In fact, I've got 2 books that I'd love to get a publisher for, and they're more on the women's fiction side. So if there are any publishers out there who wants to do a sort of, they do have suspense in, and secrets and lies, but they're more on the women's fiction side. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, I think I could maybe do more, because I've got a little supernatural element, especially in the House of Hidden Secrets. Because one of the characters sees the ghost of a child in the House of Hidden Secrets. I think I could like develop that a little bit more. I can't do like horror or a ghost story as such, but I quite like the spookiness. So maybe I should do that. A spooky story.
You should definitely do. I love a spooky story. Be excellent. Hobeck are apparently a publishers that are quite willing for you to go and camp outside and get them to publish things.
Sorry, but what publishes that?
Hobeck are apparently quite open to you
Oh, right, yeah. The Malcolm's with them, isn't he? Yeah.
encouraging them to read things. Only wants to go down doing a police or detective book.
I don't think I would do one person because I love reading them, but I just feel I don't know. All I know is what's on the TV, and apparently that's wrong, isn't it? So, I mean, I did do a bit of crime when I first qualified as a solicitor, but I was obviously a solicitor, and that's what my character Natalie does. She represents criminals, so I know it from that point of view. But I don't know enough about the police procedure and everything, and I just think there are people who are really good at it, and I don't think I would be. So I can't see me doing that.
Donna is with me. She thinks she should do a spooky story.
Here you go, good. So we're drinking gin and doing spooky stories, Donna. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
I'm with this plan all the way. Spooky story.
Yeah, we could get together. We'll have to do this at Harrogate. Let's get together, drink gin, and make up a spooky story between us. Plan.
Sounds good. I'll just tell you some of my terrifying teacher stories. I told Donna one earlier. She can attest to the fact that I can probably scare you.
Oh, wow. Mind you, kids can be scary, can't they? They can be creepy. I think it's like in the House of Hidden Secrets, because there's this little child who one of the characters sees all the time. I think the fact it's a little child is sort of more spooky than seeing an older person, I think.
Yeah.
Neither are nice. I don't want to see one, thanks. I'd be scared. S-less.
So, Donna says it sounds like absolute perfection. What have you read this year that you've really enjoyed? My favourite was that question.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think again, I mentioned this on Saturday, but this is a different crowd, so that's good. I can say it all again. I don't get half as much time for reading as I used to, unless I go on holiday, and it's great. I just love it on holiday, just read the whole time. But I get sent a few books, not as many as like the major authors, but I do get a fair few. But recently, I was reading books for Crime Fest because I was a moderator. So I had 4 people on my panel, and I enjoyed all 4 books. So they're the sort of most recent 4 books. One of them was Catriona Ward, Sundial, and I thought that was an amazing book. Another was, which I think Dan's read, Nasty Little Cuts by Tina Baker. And in fact, my name's on the front of the book. So she got I mean, I'd love to get a hardback book, but anyway, she has a hardback edition, and it says on the front, Caroline England, Deliciously Dark. That was me. And I really enjoyed that. I mean, that is very dark, a very dark story. I read that last year when I was on holiday in Crete. So there was I in the lovely Cretan sunshine reading this really dark story. Then another one, who else did I? Vanessa Savage. Hers was called The Night They Disappeared. That was another good page turner. Another hardback. They're all hardback, these people. And then another was an American lady, something Robertson she was called, and but hers are interesting because it was her protagonist is an American lawyer who represents people on death row. So that's something that we don't come across in the UK, isn't it? So that was really interesting. So they were the last 4 books, and they were great, all of them.
What was it like being a moderator as opposed to sort of being a panel member?
Well, it was a little bit frustrating because authors have to pay to go to Crime Fest and be on a panel. You have to pay for the ticket. I mean, it's great because obviously you can see everyone else's panels. But so I was paying to be a moderator, and I didn't get another panel, so I didn't get one as an author. So I sort of paid to go, and I had to moderate, obviously think about all the questions and read all the books. But then you and Sam are doing these questions all the time, and in fact, I'm going to steal some of your questions. I'm going to ask you to. So next time, I'll have some new questions. But you'll know. Sorry,
I said steal away. We're more than happy.
Well, I will. I will. I'd love to, because you've come up with some different questions that I thought, oh, that's good. I like that. Da, da, da. So I must make actual notes of them. But as you two will know, I mean, I don't know if you guys actually read every book of the author you interview, because if you did, you must read a lot of books, or whether you just sort of swat up a little bit. But it is hard. It's quite time consuming. And I noticed I was looking up a book. I don't know if it was my own book, but it said something like reading time 6 to 8 hours. And I thought, I take a lot longer than 6 to 8 hours. I must be a slow reader. So I don't know how people can read a whole 100,000 words. Is that how long you take? I don't know. But I suppose it's because I'm not sitting there and doing it in one go, so I'm not really timing it. But
I'm quite a quick reader. I can read a book in a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
Like if I'm really just sat focusing. I know my husband's done it. Like I was sat reading once and he was like, I'm going to do some stuff. And I was like, book, fine, bye. And he came down a bit later and I was like, I've read it. And he was like, you've not read a book in like this amount of time. And I just told him everything. And he was like, yeah, okay, you did.
Wow. Gosh, that's amazing.
We do, like Sam's just said on there, we do try to read. We might not.
Oh, do well done, girls. Wow, ladies.
We
Women.
might not finish
Sorry.
time for the chat, but we do try to read. We're very organised. We try to read.
Well, I think reading's preferable to housework and stuff, isn't it? Let the house be dusty. Let the clothes be non-ironed or unwashed even. Let's smell. Who cares? You've got better things to do. You can read.
Sam says she doesn't read a book in a couple of hours except for the quick reads.
Yeah. I don't know. But I think it's because I will probably just, when I do read, I suppose that I will do an hour before I go to sleep. So I suppose I need to add it up, don't I? Like when I go on my holiday, I will add it, see how long I actually do take. I'm interested now. But it won't be as fast as you, Kaz. That's for sure.
Well, I think I read more in holidays and things, but then I commute to work on public transport, so I can. No,
that's a good opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Uninterrupted reading time each way, if you know what I mean. So I can read.
I think I would read more if I hadn't discovered Wordle and Hurdle and Octodle and Durdle, because that's why it's dreadful. My whole life is ruled by those little word games. I've just got to cut it out.
Stop. I keep asking people at the author questions. I only do Wordle.
I do enjoy it. It'll wear off eventually, but I'm still a bit obsessed.
But they've not worn off yet, have they? Like all the kids at my school do it in the morning. It's great. They're all addicted. Donna says she can read a book in a few hours. That's why you're into as well.
Wow.
And maybe I think maybe it's a special talent that you get as you practice doing the interviews.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Because you have to, because I'm sure Michael Parkinson or whoever, has to quickly zoom through things, because you don't have time, do you, to sit around and do Wordle.
Everyone's always got time for Wordle. What's the most recent thing you've written then? Most recent scene you've written without giving away a spoiler? That's one of Sam's favourite author chat questions.
I'm just trying to think. Well, again, that was doing the edit. I don't think when did I last write anything new? That was when I wrote The Wasp of Rutherford House, and that was, I think, last year, towards the end of last year. Or was it earlier this? Oh, I went back to another novel that's currently called Chosen. I went back to that, and as I say, I'm reading that to my group at the moment. Oh, and also my mind's like, isn't it? But yes, another book will be coming out, another Caroline England book next June-ish. And a book has been earmarked for that I call it Read for Remembrance. And I thought, gosh, the way life flies by, that'll soon come round. So I thought I better start rereading that. So I'm sort of about the 4th chapter in that, rereading it and going, I need to mend everything, but not the basic story. It's just the quality of writing. I think, I've got to improve this. So that's what I was doing yesterday. So that's the and someone's just died in it. So there you go. There's a spoiler.
But you're presuming that someone's gonna die in a crime book eventually.
Yeah. Although this guy, the person who's just died now, he's not been murdered, but it's died. It's just, you know, I've just killed someone off. I've killed someone off right near the beginning for a change, but it's not very, you know, it's not a major thing. But yeah, I'm still, you know, but
Fair enough. Sam said thank you both for a lovely hour, and thanks again for a great time in Wigan last weekend.
oh well, thank you as well. It was so lovely to see you all, Donna and
Remind
obviously you and Dan.
remind us both about the cinema again, about everyone about the cinema again, so that you know what to go and buy. Show it off.
Yes, please. Oh, please do, because it'd be so good. We want an audio. We want an audio. I think someone needs to start a whole campaign of we want an audio of the Sinner, and a bestseller, and a house, you know, in France, and a helicopter, and an aeroplane, and a boat. So if we could start that whole petition. But anyway, so this is the Sinner, and today is publication day. And obviously it's available on Amazon in ebook and paperback, but also it's in some Waterstones, especially in the Northwest. It's in some bookshops, but you can order in any bookshop and they can order it in. And yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter and my Facebook page and Instagram. And if you do read it, please tell me what you think. I'd love to hear. I love interacting and finding out what your thoughts are. So please do. And it'd be great if you buy it. The paperback is £9.99, but if you go on Amazon, it's a couple of quid cheaper at the moment. And please do. I'd love you to have a look and see what you think.
Oh, you got lots of thank yous. Thank you for your time today and last.
Oh well, thank you all for joining. And sorry, I'm a bit like, duh. I shouldn't get up at 5 o'clock. I'd know my name then.
Tony said thank you and see you in Harrogate.
Oh, see you there. Great. Look
And
forward to it.
thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, cheers, Kaz.
Happy publication day.
Oh, thank you very much. And thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.